In the beginning, outside of time, in the vast emptiness, there was nothing but darkness. Then, with a powerful and loving command, God created the heavens and the earth. He spoke light into existence, separated the waters, and shaped dry land. He adorned the earth with plants, trees, and fruits of every kind. The stars, moon, and sun were set in the sky to mark the days and seasons. God, in his infinite wisdom and creativity, created all living creatures, the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and every animal that roamed the land. But his masterpiece was humanity. He created man, Adam, in his own image, and later, from Adam's rib, he created Eve to be his companion. God placed them in the beautiful Garden of Eden, giving them dominion over all his creation. God's command to Adam and Eve was simple. They could eat from every tree in the garden except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This command introduced the concept of free will. God, who desires a loving relationship with his creation, wanted Adam and Eve to choose to love and obey him freely. The serpent, however, sought to disrupt this harmony. The serpent, cunning and deceitful, approached Eve, exploiting her curiosity. He tempted her to eat the forbidden fruit, promising that it would make her like God, knowing good and evil. Eve succumbed to the temptation and ate the fruit, then gave some to Adam, who also ate. Their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked, feeling shame and guilt for the first time. When God came to the garden, Adam and Eve hid. God, in his loving yet just nature, confronted them about their disobedience. Though he loved them dearly, he had to punish them for their actions. He expelled them from the Garden of Eden to prevent them from eating from the tree of life and living forever in their sinful state. Yet, despite their disobedience, God's relationship with humanity was not severed. He continued to communicate with them, showing his enduring love and mercy. Adam and Eve began their new lives outside Eden, facing the harsh realities of a world marred by sin. They had 2 sons, Cain and Abel. Abel was a shepherd who faithfully followed God's precepts, while Cain was a farmer who struggled with his devotion. When both brothers brought offerings to God, he accepted Abel's but rejected Cain's, leading to jealousy and anger. Despite God's warning, Cain's jealousy festered, and he murdered Abel. God, just and righteous, punished Cain, making him a wanderer. Yet in his mercy, God marked Cain to protect him from harm. Adam and Eve later had another son, Seth, through whom people began to call upon the name of the Lord. As humanity grew, so did their wickedness. God's heart was grieved by their corruption, and he decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood. Yet amidst this sea of corruption, God found one man who stood out, Noah. Despite the temptations of the world and the flesh, Noah remained faithful to God. He lived a righteous and blameless life, walking in close fellowship with the Lord. Discovering that there could be a man who, against all odds, still loved him deeply, made God happy. It gave him hope that humanity could indeed choose righteousness and faithfulness. Deciding to spare Noah and his family, God instructed Noah to build an ark, a vessel that would preserve them through the impending flood. God, in his infinite mercy and love, chose to save Noah's family and pairs of every living creature to ensure the continuation of life after the flood. Noah obeyed, and when the floodwaters came, they covered the earth, destroying all life outside the ark. After the flood, Noah offered a sacrifice to God, and God was pleased and made a covenant, symbolized by the rainbow, promising never to destroy the earth with a flood again. After the great flood, the earth began to be repopulated by Noah's descendants. Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, who had been exposed to the worldly ways before the flood, started to fill the earth with their offspring. As generations passed, these descendants, despite witnessing God's mighty hand in preserving their ancestors, began to drift back into their old, sinful ways. The allure of worldly desires and the influence of corrupted hearts led many to forget the lessons of the flood. They started building their lives without regard for God's commandments, engaging in practices that were grievous to the Lord. The descendants of Noah, saved by the grace of being Noah's children and in-laws, gradually returned to the same corrupt and sinful lifestyles that had led to the flood's destruction. God, who is both loving and just, had previously declared that he would not destroy the earth with water again. He also said that his spirit would not always strive with humanity. Witnessing the increasing wickedness of man once more, God decided to seek out a man who would be set apart for him, a man who would walk in his ways and uphold his covenant. In his divine wisdom and love for humanity, God looked upon the earth and found a man named Abram, later called Abraham. Abraham lived in a world where idol worship and ungodly practices were rampant. Yet he stood out for his willingness to listen to and obey God's call. God chose Abraham to be the father of a great nation, a nation that would be his own people, distinct and holy. God called Abraham to leave his father's house and his familiar surroundings to journey to a land that he would show him. This call was not just about physical relocation, but about spiritual separation from the corrupted world. God desired to establish a relationship with Abraham based on faith, trust, and obedience. Abraham, not fully knowing what lay ahead, trusted in God's promises and set out on his journey. Through Abraham, God began to reveal his character and his plan for humanity. He made a covenant with Abraham, promising that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky and that they would inherit the land God showed him. This covenant was not just about land and descendants. It was about God setting apart a people for himself who would know him, love him, and live according to his ways. Despite being childless, Abraham believed God's promise, and then God finally answered his prayers by giving him a son, Isaac. Abraham's journey of faith included many trials and tests, culminating in the ultimate test when God asked him to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac. Abraham's obedience and trust in God were rewarded when God provided a ram as a substitute for Isaac. Isaac married Rebekah, and they had twin sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob, through God's sovereignty, became the one through whom God's promises would continue. Jacob's life was marked by struggles, including his flight from Esau, his years of service to Laban, and his wrestling with God, after which God renamed him Israel. Jacob had 12 sons, who would become the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel. Among them was Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers. Through a series of events, Joseph rose to power in Egypt, ultimately saving his family from famine and reuniting with his brothers in a touching act of forgiveness. You can see the complete story of Joseph from our channel or by clicking the video link above. The book of Genesis ends with Joseph's death and his prophecy that God would one day lead the Israelites out of Egypt. This sets the stage for the book of Exodus, where we will witness God's power and faithfulness in delivering his people from slavery and leading them to the promised land. Join us in our next journey as we explore the book of Exodus, where God's mighty hand will be revealed through miraculous signs and wonders, guiding his chosen people, the children of Israel, from bondage to freedom. And if you haven't been following us, check out our Genesis playlist, where we went through the book of Genesis, chapter by chapter. And if you've been following us this far, thank you for following our journey through Genesis. Stay tuned for more insights, and may God bless you.